When you are running a business, you want to be a figure of authority. You want to be in a leadership position. And if you use these phrases in your business, you're not putting yourself in that position. It's very clear, it's not dominating, and it's just taking charge and making a direction. Hey, I'm just checking in to see if you've had a chance to look at the business plan, and no worries if you haven't. People use this one so much. And again, in friendly situations and other situations. Hello, my beautiful souls, and welcome to this episode. This episode is super interesting because we're going over linguistics. We're going over the power of your language when it comes to business, when it comes to sales. And you can have the perfect sales strategy. You can have the perfect business strategy, but it can be completely destroyed by your language and how you're choosing to speak in your business. So we're going to dive straight in. I'm going to go over the 10 phrases that destroy your authority in sales, leadership, and content, and what you can say instead. And just to give you a little bit of an idea of what we're going to go over here today, these phrases are they're very common phrases. There's nothing inherently wrong with them, but when you use them in business, they leak authority. They just leak. They don't signal that you are strong. They don't signal that you're confident. They don't signal that you know what you're doing. And when you use these phrases, it makes you come across as weak, insecure, and that you don't know what you're doing. And if you own a business, or you want to own a business, you want to be a leader, or you are a leader already, you want to avoid using these phrases, okay? So again, there's nothing inherently wrong with these phrases, and there's a huge difference between talking with your friends and talking in business when it comes to sales. So again, it's not like you have to completely eliminate these phrases from your life. Many of these phrases are totally fine to use if you're talking with your family, you're talking with your friends, but you don't want to friend zone potential clients. You don't want to friend zone or become friend zoned by people who could be wanting to work with you. When you are running a business, you want to be a figure of authority. You want to be in a leadership position. And if you use these phrases in your business, you're not putting yourself in that position. Okay, so drum roll, please. We're going to go over the phrases. Here is phrase number 1 is, hey, just checking in. You know that kind of message. You've probably gotten that from someone who's been messaging you or, proposing a deal to you, and they're just checking in. Hey, I just want to check in. How's it going? And sometimes they will fluff it up with, no pressure, but just want to check in. Have you had a chance to think about this? Can you give me an idea of where you're at? And this is a very, very weak positioning, because this also communicates that there was no follow-up call scheduled, there is no follow-up appointment scheduled, and if you're having to use this just checking in phrase, this means that you have left the power in the seat of the other person. And when I say power, I don't mean domination and control. It just means the ball is in their court and you're letting them lead what the next steps are. So if you are in sales, if you are running a business, you always want to have a plan for what the next steps are. So this doesn't mean that after every single call you have with any kind of person, or after any kind of meeting, that there has to be a closed deal, or decisions have to be made on that day. But if decisions are not made on that call or on that day, then you always have a follow-up call, a follow-up appointment, something where you can circle back again and readdress what it is that you're talking about, right? So if you're just leaving it open and leaving it up to them to just sure, just let me know whenever you have an answer, then you are being led by them. Then you are not in a leadership position. So just checking in is weak because it signals also that you're a burden. It's a bit apologetic in nature. Hey, don't mind, sorry that I'm coming in here, but I'm just kind of needed to know. It's very apologetic in nature, and it positions you below the buyer. So what you want to say instead is, hi, I'm following up on this, or circling back to move this forward. It's very clear, it's not dominating, and it's just taking charge and making a direction forward. I would never put myself in a situation where I would have to check in. So personally, myself, I don't leave things open-ended. I don't leave things out in the ethers to just be like, oh, just come back to me whenever you feel like it. And yeah, of course, I would do that in non-professional settings where there's not high risk, there's no deadline, there's, it's okay for things to just be left in ambiguity. But when it comes to business and plans and moving things forward, You always want to be able to take charge and say what the next steps are. So I would even eliminate the situation at all for you to even have to follow up with just checking in. But in the rare cases, if you do have to follow up with someone and you haven't gotten the clarity from them, then instead of saying just checking in, say, hi, I'm just following up on this, circling back to move this forward. It's very clear, it's very neutral, and it's direct. Phrase number 2, no worries if not. So this is oftentimes coupled with the first one. Hey, I'm just checking in to see if you've had a chance to look at the business plan, and no worries if you haven't. Again, it's like pre-rejecting yourself. It's like you're already for them putting yourself in a position where they can just go ahead and reject you. And it's protecting against discomfort. So it's like you're projecting that they are going to reject you. You're projecting rejection, and that's kind of like putting it there, that you're kind of creating it by even just placing that energy in front of them. So it's kind of saying and communicating, I don't really believe that you're going to even want to work with me. So I'm just going to already lay that forward. Like, if in case you don't want to work with me, it's all good. So why are you doing that? You don't have to do that. You don't have to plant in their heads that it's totally okay that they don't want to work with you. Just like self-sabotage right there. So what you can say instead is, please let me know your decision by Friday, for example. If it's not aligned, totally fine. Clarity helps. It's just more clear, calm, and confident. And it shows that you don't have a problem, you don't have an issue with asking for clarity. You don't have a problem with asking for what it is that you need. And that builds trust. Because if you're running a business, you have needs. If you're running a business, you have deadlines, you have time frames, you have plans, you have to have momentum and things moving forward. And if someone else is not giving you the answer that you need, then they are holding you back. So if you're showing that you need an answer within a certain time, that establishes a lot of trust and confidence in you as a communicator. Sentence number 3, which a lot of people use in meetings or when they have an idea and they want to present an idea, is, I might be wrong, but I think that X, Y, Z, da, da, da. So starting the sentence with, I might be wrong, again, it kills your authority instantly because you're planting the seed in them. There's like a 50-50 chance that I might be onto something here, but it's maybe not. And even if that's the case, you don't want to pre-frame yourself as wrong. Like you don't want to put that association with you before you've even shared your idea. That doesn't give you a really good pre-frame, and it just tells everyone in the room that you don't trust yourself. You know, oh, I have an idea and maybe it works, but I might be wrong. It's just a waste. You don't have to even share that. You don't have to say I might be wrong. If you're wrong, you're wrong, and that's fine. But you don't have to pre-frame it that you might be wrong. So what you can say instead is, here's what I see. So using linguistics that communicates that you're observing things puts you in a seat of authority. It means that you're paying attention. You're watching what works and what doesn't work. When you use words like, here's what I see from my experience, what I've observed is XYZ. That just immediately puts you in a much more confident energy, and it communicates that you have experience, that you're paying attention, and you're able to analyze and reflect on what it is that you're paying attention to. So instead of, I might be wrong, but I think does not, say, here's what I see from my experience, what I've observed is la da 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 da. Sentence number 4, and people use this one so much. And again, in friendly situations and other situations, sure, go ahead and use it. But if you're in a boardroom or you have a big meeting or you have something really important that you've shared, and maybe you've done a teaching or you've shared a really complicated plan or roadmap for someone, and then after that you ask this question. This question here just kills your authority, and it's this. Does that make sense? And especially if you ask it in an upward sentence like that, does that make sense? Do you hear how insecure that is? So if you've done a presentation, if you explain something complicated, that explanation or that presentation may have wowed people, and maybe it went over the head for some people. Maybe they didn't get it. That's fine. But if you slash your authority with asking afterwards, and especially if you've had a wonderful presentation or something, and you go, does that make sense? Then it just really makes you sound like you're questioning yourself, that you don't even know if you're right. You don't even know if what you're saying makes sense. And people often say it out of a fear of being misunderstood, seeking reassurance, and also just it's a very innocent sentence, you know, especially if you've explained something quite complicated. You kind of want to check in and make sure, did that make sense to them? But you want to make sure that it makes sense to them. Did they understand it? What you explained makes sense. You wouldn't say what you said if it didn't make sense. So sit in the assurance that you know that what you're saying makes sense. But what you want to make sure of is, did they understand that? So what you can say instead is, do we have any questions on this? And then you can open up the space for people to ask questions. And someone can say, yeah, that part about the compensation plan, I didn't really understand that. Can you clarify? And you go, no problem. Good question. Super clear. And it doesn't make you seem insecure. Another thing you can say is, how's that landing for you? So again, you give people an opportunity to let you know, did they understand it? Yes, no. If not, open for questions. Easy peasy. Statement number 5 is, I'm sorry, but da 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 da. So starting with I'm sorry, or starting with apologizing. And that doesn't mean that you can never apologize. Of course, we need to apologize if we've done something, if we've made a mistake, if we're late, something like that. Then apologizing is important, but over apologizing to people and always apologizing is nervous system fawning. You're just fawning and you're making yourself seem really small. So instead of saying, sorry for the delay, sorry if the presentation wasn't good enough, you can instead say, thank you for your patience. Thank you for your time. So distinguish between where you need to apologize for a mistake and where you're over apologizing from a place of insecurity. And instead, thank people instead of apologizing. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your understanding, if they have given you an understanding. Don't thank people for things that they haven't given you. Important distinction there. So shift from apology to gratitude. And again, apologize where you need to apologize, but this is about over apologizing. So pay attention to where you're over apologizing. Statement number 6 is, if you want, we can XYZ. If you want, maybe we could have a meeting and talk about it. If you want to. It sounds not sure. It sounds like you're placing the entire future of the next steps on their emotional state. So what other people also throw in here are words like, I'm going to throw in a little extra bonus words here, are things like, if you want, maybe we could try. So all of this, maybe, try, and I don't know, all of these words people use so many times, and it just dilutes your message. And it makes people feel really insecure. It feels like they can't rely on you. If you're going, so if you want, maybe we could have a meeting and we could try to talk about it. And if you feel like it afterwards, then maybe we could work together. And I just have to laugh a little bit because it's amusing, and I'm not laughing at anyone who's using these words. It's just, I remember myself from way back in the day where I used to be like, hey, what's up? Just checking in, you know? And it just is cringe for you and it's cringe for the other person, and it doesn't make anyone feel comfortable. It's just not clear. And you just want to be clear. So you want to get rid of if you want and maybe and if you feel like it and let's try. Like, don't use any of these things ever, and especially not in combination. It just reeks of insecurity, and people don't want to work with insecure people. That's just the truth at the end of the day. They want to work with people who are confident, clear, and they have precision, and they have a clear path forward. That's what makes their nervous system feel regulated. So when people choose to work with other people because they're like, they can exhale, and you can exhale when someone's clear, they're in charge, they have a clear path. They're not like, maybe, let's try, I don't know, ambiguity. That just leaves people feeling really unsafe. So instead, you can say the next steps are. That's a leadership sentence. What we're going to do next time is, a great way forward to XYZ is XYZ. It's clear, it's certain. Okay, cool. Much easier for people to get on board on that instead of, well, maybe let's try perhaps if you want. So just go ahead with the next steps are, next time we will. The best way forward is, what's going to happen next is just clear. So number 7, this is a similar one. The previous one was if you want. The next one is this one. I feel like this isn't going very well. I feel like we should try a new strategy. So again, this is why I'm emphasizing these are not statements to eradicate from your vocabulary. Of course, you're going to use words like I feel like, especially if you're a woman in a relationship with a man and you want to express your feelings. So again, remember here in this episode, clear distinction between business calls and sales and your other relationships, obviously. But in business and in sales, if you're speaking with a prospect, if you overly use the word feel, I feel like this and I feel like that, then it communicates that if in business calls and business meetings, anything related to your business, if you overly use the word feel, it communicates that you are way too influenced by your feelings when it comes to business. And of course, this is not about eradicating our feelings in business. However, in business, it helps to communicate to other people that you are not completely dominated by your feelings all the time, because feelings come and go, but the strategy is a strategy. So you want to communicate to people that you can execute regardless of feelings sometimes, because sometimes we might feel a certain way and the next moment the feeling is different. So if you're going to do everything in according to our feelings, that's going to be a very unstable path forward. So instead of using the sentence, I feel like, you might say like, oh, I feel like this strategy isn't working. That necessarily isn't even a feeling. If a strategy isn't working, just stick to the statistics. Is it working or is it not? Like, you might feel relieved that a strategy isn't working because you want to try something else, or you might feel really sad that the strategy isn't working. At the end of the day, if a strategy isn't working, it's not working. You can put your feelings aside. It just makes it a lot easier for you as well as a business owner. And instead of saying, I feel like this strategy isn't working, you can say, this strategy isn't producing results. Here's what we're going to do instead. Emotion is out of it and it's way more clear. So sentence number 8 is, I don't know if this is good, but you just self-sabotaged before your delivery. Again, you don't want to negatively pre-frame yourself before you're presenting something. You do not have to say, I don't know if this is good. I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if this is a good idea. Cancel that, cancel. And people say this because sometimes there's a fear of judgment. So if you've already kind of cushioned that you yourself don't really know if it's a good idea or not, then it's like, oh, I won't be so impacted if you guys don't think if it's a good idea because I didn't think it was a good idea. So if you don't think it's a good idea and I already didn't think it was a good idea, then it won't hurt so much if you guys didn't think it was a good idea. But at the end of the day, who cares about that? What is it that you want to suggest? You don't have to pre-frame that it might not be a good idea or it might not be good. You want to stand strong in everything that you're presenting. So if you say these things, there's fear of judgment there. And what I encourage you to do instead is, even if there is fear of judgment, remove that sentence and instead say, here's what I've prepared. Judge away. You're going to present it anyways, so might as well just be clear about it. Here it is. Here's what I prepared. Easy, clear, neutral. And it feels way better to you instead of kind of like pre-preparing yourself for judgment, because then you're just kind of welcoming it in. But instead of doing that, just stay neutral and say, here's what I prepared. Okay, we have the 2 last ones. We got the 2 last ones. Number 9, it's totally up to you. So and again, I'm going to emphasize this again. If you're planning to go to a coffee shop with a friend and you have a couple of suggestions and you gave your friend a couple of suggestions of where to go, and you're actually totally fine if you go to coffee shop number 1 or number 2 because you like them both, then of course it makes sense that you can say to your friend, hey, you choose, up to you. No problem. Because you're not talking about $1 million deal. You're not talking about the difference of hundreds of thousands of dollars on a sales call. You're not talking about high risk, high stake situations. You're just going to a coffee shop. So again, it's like, if you are talking about everyday things and you are actually fine with it being completely up to the other person, sure, go ahead. Again, in family and friends, go ahead and leave it up to them if you're feeling okay with that. No problem at all. But in sales and in business, if important things are on the table, do you want to leave the outcome of high risk situations to be totally up to another person, or do you want to be able to have an influence over the situation? So in sales, this also kills momentum. So let's say you've had a sales call, or you presented a deal to someone, or a business opportunity to someone, and you just leave it with, up to you. Again, you're giving the ball to them and you're giving your power away, and it kills your authority. And now it's all just ambiguity. You don't know what they're going to say. You don't know what they're going to suggest. You don't know when they're going to get back to you, or if they're ever going to get back to you at all. So that's just a really great way to lose a deal. Totally up to you. And it's not about crushing their ability to have a say in the situation. Not at all. You want them to feel like they have authority. You want them to feel like they're making the best decision for themselves. Of course, this is what sales is. Sales is service. You're helping them find the best decision for themselves. But you have to guide it. You have to lead it. And you don't guide and lead when you just go, up to you. So Again, it's fine to give autonomy, but don't withdraw leadership. So what you can say instead, based on what you said, this is the best option. Based on what you said, here are the best options for you. So you're still giving them the option to choose, but you're staying in authority, you're staying in leadership, and you're also communicating that you're paying attention and that you're listening. So based on what I heard you say, this is the best way forward for you. Based on what I heard you say, these are the best options for you. There you go. And people want help with their decision making. People have decision making fatigue when they're overloaded with too many options, when they have, like, most people have too many options in life in general right now, and they want help in making decisions. They don't want decision fatigue. They don't want decision overwhelm. So if you're able to present the best option for them based on what it is that they've said, oh, thank you. Thank you. That's help. That's helpful. Okay, the final phrase that you want to swap when it comes to sales and business. And this can be a tricky one because we all use it so much in our daily life that it can easily sneak into a business. And it's beginning your sentences with I just wanted to say that I feel like da 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 da. I just think that it's a good idea to. I just want to remind you that I just. So it's beginning the sentence with I just, and this minimizes you. It makes you feel like you can't really deserve to take up too much space, so you just kind of want to sneak it in there. Just can I just say that. Just remove just. So delete it every time. Be clear. So instead of saying, I just want to say, I just say, what I want to say is. And instead of saying, I just want to remind you, say, I'm reminding you that da 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 da. Just be more definite and clear in your language. And that will save you a whole lot of headache and give you a lot more clarity and make the person that you're communicating with feel like they can trust you and they can rely on you. So if any parts of this episode felt uncomfortable because you were like, oh my God, I say those sentences a lot. Good, congratulations. This doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. It's just normal linguistics. We all have these little parts of our language that we pull into business, and sometimes we're not even aware of it. So just being mindful of the language that we're using. And again, here's another reminder. So if this episode made you feel uncomfortable at any point in time, then great. If you could see that, oh, I usually say these sentences and I do that in business a lot, I minimize myself, then congratulations. Here's an opportunity to make massive shifts, because this is not about shaming ourselves for the language that we use. These are very normal things that we say every single day, and they can bleed into our business, and that's okay. It's not about feeling bad about it. It's just becoming aware and making these subtle shifts so that you can put yourself in a position of authority and leadership and not minimize and make yourself seem weak. Again, authority isn't loud, it's regulated certainty. Most women don't lack intelligence, they just haven't given themselves permission to speak with certainty and clarity. So I have one challenge for you to wrap up this episode, and my challenge for you today is to remove one softening phrase from your vocabulary this week. Let me know how this episode landed for you. Please share it with your friends, with anyone who could benefit from it, and I will see you in the next episode.